Good day. I've just come down to water, even though we're going to have torrential rain supposedly later. And you can see here maybe blight. Will this focus? No, it's not focusing. Blight though. If I come over here, you can see this stem here. You can hardly see it against the ground because it's gone brown. Come over here as well. And I'm noticing that we're getting blossom end rot on some of the tomatoes. Those are the plum ones. So you know what I'm going to do. Oh yeah, and something clearly had a go at that. Pecked into it maybe, and then it sort of dried up. I hadn't noticed it over the last few days. But yeah, I'm going to take these out. Oh, look. And blight there as well. Welcome to this first segment of A Week at the Plot, where we have blight. Half an hour later and all the fruit that could be harvested has been harvested. All the plants have been taken out and chopped up and are now sitting in a compost bin. Blight only lives on living matter, so it will die in the compost bin as everything breaks down. But I have to say, I was pulling these out and the root systems on quite a few of them were pretty good. This one here, I mean, the root system is really decent, like almost, you know, like a double root system almost. And these bits, this one went on for about another foot here. This one broke off here, went on for another foot and a bit. This one again, there was this bit here which went on for about 3 foot. So the root systems are the best root systems I think I've ever had, which is astonishing. This is the harvest. These will ripen. Some of them already are. The black crim are. That yellow one, that orange one, is absolutely, it looks fabulous. Maybe not on camera, but it looks fabulous. I'm looking forward to eating that one. But these, you can see the discoloration here and here, around here. All of that is blight. So those are going to go into my compost bin as well. But yeah, the growing season for me sort of continues. Yeah, and I've noticed over here, having netted the brassicas we put in against pigeons, you see that in there? Been eaten by slugs. Those that side seem to be okay. And there is one here that's pushing up the net. So I think I'm going to have to think about putting the big blue hoop nets on this in the next week or so. I didn't actually expect to do very much today. I needed to water in the polytunnel. We're due an awful lot of rain, which is why it was good to get those out, because that blight with wet, warm weather will just spread to other plots. I say warm weather, it's feeling rather chilly at the moment. I mean, it's not cold. It must be about 16 degrees, something like that, but it feels chilly to me. But yeah, I didn't expect to be taking out tomatoes which had succumbed to blight. It should have been, maybe it was in the back of my mind, because it's it's sort of the first thing I did was water the tomatoes. And our plot neighbours, our new plot neighbours here, I had to tell them about their tomatoes the other day because they had blight on them. And I thought they'd taken them out and composted them. But I've just had a look and they took them out of the ground, but they've just left them on the top of the soil in a pile. So from here I could see them blighted when they were in the ground, but when I looked over the other day I couldn't see them, so I thought they must be in their compost, but no, they were taken out and put on the ground. And of course it will take blight quite a while to die, you know, until the plants are dead. The blight will be there. So the spores were still out and about, and we've had a few bouts of drizzle and rain and relatively warm temperatures, well above 12 degrees certainly, and yeah, that has, you know, that's done the trick. We've had quite a few warm nights, so when you have a constant temperature over 12 degrees and blight and damp, that's when blight spreads. So, but you know, on the upside, I've actually got 2 beds where I can put double rows of broad beans now. So there we are. There's the upside. I've got space to do more broad beans than I was expecting to do, which means that maybe over there I could use that for lettuce, the narrower bed for lettuce, and overwinter some lettuce. Something to mull, something to mull. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for this segment of a week at the plot. Oh dear, it's Wednesday now. Honestly, the year really does continue. It does continue. I was just coming down to water and to tell you that last night I had my last allotment association committee meeting, because as I stood down as chair last year, I'm standing down from the committee this year at the end of this month. Well, really at our AGM, which is mid-October. But yeah, that was my last committee meeting last night. And I have to say that's, yeah, I'm glad. I've done my time and I've enjoyed it. And I haven't enjoyed it quite so much over the last year, 18 months. And I think when you stop enjoying things, that's the time to think about moving on and doing something else. So yeah, there's going to be more concentration on the plot and a few other things, and writing. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Waffle, 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 waffle. Waffle, 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 waffle. I'm off. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's Friday afternoon. I came down just to see how things were and noticed that this trough was completely waterlogged, and actually I think the holes in the bottom, which were drilled by somebody else, I just think they weren't big enough or they had got clogged. And the water was just pooling. It was just like a bath. You can see I tipped some out here, and then underneath I used a what do you call them, like these sort of tent pegs, which I opened up to make holes as you saw me do in the bottom. And as you can see, water is now draining out the bottom. So I think they just become clogged, or they were too small and they needed sort of refreshing. Clearly I'm going to need to make them bigger again. So that's a job to add to the list. I don't know what these are. I was given these, but that's going a lovely red. Look at that, it's fantastic. And over here, these are the Lidl roses. I'm not sure if you can see, but that one, this front one, which is white, is flowering, beginning to lose leaves, which I think is because of autumn. I think this is the orange one, and I believe that's the red one at the back. This trough is the same as the one I've just made holes in, and I checked, and that one's draining absolutely fine. So yeah, it's just one of those things, but I'm glad I came down and sorted that out. That one that we just looked at sits here at the back, so I'm just going to put it back there. If you're on coffee, I shared a photo the other day of a broad bean coming up. Volunteer there. It's been eaten. And in fact, you know, the apples are dropping fast and furious, and also are rotting fast and furious as well on the tree. It's definitely got some disease, this tree. It's such a shame because it's glorious when it comes to flower. You know, when it's in full bloom, it's just glorious. But all the fruit, which there was so much, I mean, you can see how much is on the floor, how much is on the beds. And if I come in over here, you can see how fruit is just rotting. And look there. Yeah, and it's definitely not, you know, a few turns, it's not coming off. Here again, rotting. I did say if we were unable to get harvest from it, I might have to say goodbye to it, but I'm going to do a little bit more research. Now I can take photos of the diseased apples. And of course the parakeets are back. You can most probably see there's sort of, I call it a parakeet line. Things above have largely been eaten above head height. The parakeets don't come down as far as this and eat, but they'll quite happily go up there and peck away. And I think possibly squirrels as well, pecking away. Anyway, there we are. I was going to weed this bed today, and I think I'll just get on, put my gloves on and get on and do that, just to do something and tidy up a little bit. These beetroot that have germinated are doing okay, and all of these are endive, which seem to, I was just about to say seem to be fine. Yeah, that one's been eaten a bit, which is unusual for endive, but yeah, they're fine. But yes, I'm going to just get on and weed this bed a bit. So I've spent 20 minutes hand weeding this, just pulling the weeds out. I did actually notice that some that I thought were weeds are actually late germination beetroot, or late germinating beetroot. There's another one there, there's a few over there as well. So, and of course these aren't endive, what was I saying, they're chicory. We've got endive in the poly. Let's just pop in there. Look at all the forget-me-nots coming up. That'll be spectacular next year though. I do think I'll thin those out a bit. Well, if we just pop in here, this has been given a little hand weed as well. The endive is the curly one. What do we think? We think this is Marvel of Four Seasons. And then I've got tomatoes here, which were from cuttings in the summer, if you remember. And there are some flowers coming on them. So I'm just going to leave them be for the moment. And our garlic kale at the back germinated. I've spun these around because they were all leaning this way towards the light. So, oh, I've gone and forgotten. What did I do? Garlic kale and broccoli rabe. So these are broccoli rabe, need to label, and those are garlic kale. And these rocket are coming along really, really slowly. These lettuce, we've had really poor germination. Hey ho. On Wednesday, you may remember I took the tomatoes out because of blight. That was late blight. So I was content to compost those. If that had been early blight, i.e. early in the season, I would have just put them into a black bag and put them into our own garden waste at home and had them away from the plot, because there is a thought that early blight can actually stay in the soil and does actually stay in the soil. I know there are a few trials going on about late blight and whether that does as well. And at the moment, I think the consensus is that it's fine to compost, and certainly that is what I have found. And I know that's what Charles Dowding does. So yeah, I'm going to continue composting our late blighted tomatoes until I hear otherwise. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I just came down to really just to look. We had so much rain yesterday, really so much rain and thunder and lightning. And of course, you know, slugs are out and about. But I just wanted to come down because I thought I needed to water things in the poly, which I didn't, but best to check on that and then come back the next day to find that they're bone dry, because then they will get stressed. These lettuce will get stressed and then go to bolt, which of course we don't want them to do. Anyway, and at least I saw that lovely rose, that lovely white rose, and was able to salvage those funny things that are turning red. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. Just like the brassicas over there that we were looking at the other day that have been munched by slugs and snails, this perennial kale that I covered to stop it being pecked by pigeons has been savaged by, I assume, slugs and snails. I think that's all snail poop there that you can see. This is the pupa, not sure if you can see that, of the small white. So that has now gone as a butterfly somewhere. But yeah, it just feels as though if it's not one thing this year, it's another. On a bonus thing, this borage that we were given a few months ago has done really well, and I think I am going to move it because I don't want it to self-seed in this situation. But at the moment I can't see any bees on there, but when I came down there were about 3 bees enjoying the flowers because they are very much liked by bees and other pollinators, which is grand. In the poly now, and I should have thought about this the other day. These brassicas that I sowed a week or so ago, they're not getting enough light in the poly here. You can see the sunlight, the dapple sunlight coming through. It's sort of around 11 o'clock in the morning now, and even though they don't particularly like heat, they do quite like light at this stage, and they're getting rather leggy. Look, I mean, they're quite strong, but they're getting a bit too leggy. So what I'm going to do is move these to the greenhouse, because at least they'll have a far better light concentration in there than they have in here. This is an old Arum Lily that I was gifted a few, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago. And I can see there's new growth coming, so I'm just going to take off by pulling, which is what my mum used to do, the leaves that are sort of dying like that. You can see. Not all of them, some will. All of this will, once a frost comes, it will just all die back, but the ones that are clearly dead at the moment, just tidying it up a bit. It's a morning of just pottering for me this morning. I've got there's lots of planes coming over this morning as well. But you can see here there's new shoots coming through. I put it into a pot because, you know, this is moved from somebody's garden and you don't know what their soil is like, whether it's got any pathogens or, you know, perennial weeds that you don't want. And God forbid that we get mare's tail, though I do believe that sancfoil is worse than mare's tail. There's a little corm that has come out. Just going to pop that, make a hole there and pop it in. Right, that'll do. Maybe those two come off as well, and that one. Once you start, yeah, that'll do. I need to level it up. Where it is at the moment, it's just sort of bunged here. Yeah, I need to do some proper management in getting that on a level footing. I need to sort underneath anyway, so I'll do that another day. I put a call out on our allotment WhatsApp group for mint a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, and several people came back. This was a plant that I was given, somebody dug out and put in there. These were all cuttings. This one is a sort of traditional mint. I think this is a hairy mint here, like this one. This one seems to be doing better, and this one I think is a more traditional mint as well. I think like a water mint, as my mum would call it. Not because it is a water mint, but that's just what mum would call them. So yeah, they seem to be growing okay. Oh yeah, roots coming out there. Oh yeah, there's a root there as well. I assume nothing from these yet. No, these are cuttings, as I say. Well, I think those were cuttings as well. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Yeah. Glad to have mint, but of course this won't be, none of these will be going directly in the ground, because mint can be really invasive and take over patches, which sometimes is really good. If you've got a sort of enclosed patch that you want mint to take over, then go for it, pop it in the ground, but otherwise keep it in a pot. These are all in pretty small pots at the moment, and will go into larger pots when they become more established. I have brought down the kitchen peelings to go in the compost bin, and I've also brought down lots of cardboard. So before I put that compost or the peelings into the compost bin, I'm going to tear up all of this cardboard and put that in first, and then put the peelings on top. It's really important to make sure you put plenty of browns, cardboards and bits of twig, dried twig, and possibly even sort of like dried grasses. When grasses are green, they count as greens and bring nitrogen to a compost bin. When they're dark and dead, they are classed as browns, so they help in giving bulk to the compost bin and soaking up the wetness of a compost bin. Because if you don't put enough browns in, which is quite a lot, you know, I try and do sort of 50-50. If you don't put enough browns into a compost bin, you can end up with a very wet, slurry like compost bin, which of course is not what any of us want. You need to have the browns in there, lots of cardboard, lots of shredded paper, and that will help get good compost for you in, you know, a few months time, or 6 months time, or a year's time, depending upon where you are and how active you are at turning your compost bins. So yeah, I'm going to spend the rest of another hour. I think I'll listen to a podcast, tear up cardboard, and that's going to be it for today. Somebody did mention about using salt for slugs and snails a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure whether it was on Planet Vegetarian or whether it was a comment here. I just wouldn't do that. You know, salt may sound natural, and of course it is a natural product, but it's not a natural product to have in your beds, in any of your beds where you're going to be doing growing. And of course salt will not only damage slugs and snails because it pulls the moisture out of them. Well, actually they try and get rid of it, so they push the mucus out and they dehydrate themselves and they do die. But it will do the same for worms. It will do the same for other things in your soil. So when you hear about these fantastic, you know, ideas about putting salt down or putting vinegar down or something like that, please think twice about it and do some Googling, because it's generally not a great idea. You know, it's like people say, oh, put eggshells down because that will stop slugs and snails. The RHS has done tests and found out that it doesn't actually, and they quite like, I mean, we put eggshells into our wormery because they like the eggshells, and slugs and snails similar, you know, they quite like munching on those and taking in some of the vitamins and minerals from shells. So do be careful. Well, you know, not everything you see on the internet is true. There we are. And that goes for this video as well. Oh no, I do try and be as honest as possible. Well, no, I am honest. I do try. If something happens, like earlier in the week we were talking about blight and I didn't mention late blight, I do try and clarify things on screen, or if I know about it later in the week in another segment. But there we are. All 2 wasps have just come in. Quite amazing, there's been so few wasps this year, and 2 have just come in to the poly and gone out. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and start listening to my podcast, and not my podcast, a podcast, and tearing up this cardboard before it goes into our compost bin. Any comments, any questions, please do leave them down below. And as per usual, if you follow on Planet Vegetarian, there'll be segments through the week of next week's A Week at the Plot. And if you watch on YouTube, then there'll be another full upload in a week's time on a Monday around 6 p.m. UK time. Whatever is happening in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, and whatever challenges you might be facing, I hope you're getting some moments of joy from what you're doing in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment. I think I might shut up sometimes, actually, because when I was talking the other day about the chicory and I said, oh no, the chicory looks as though it's been eaten. I think I said endive outside. Oh no, I said it's just that one, that's okay. One of them has been completely stripped since I was down here last, which was on Friday. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop saying about critters and things, eating things, because it seems that as soon as I mention them, they must watch this on Planet Vegetarian and go, oh yeah, we'll pop down there, that looks quite nice, and munch on it. Right, I will see you very soon for further uploads and segments of A Week at the Plot. See you very soon. Bye, and happy growing.